Welcome to Technologies Now, the Business Edge, and this is a broker's perspective. I'm your host, David Urbach, and in this show, we sit down with leaders across real estate, business, and technology to uncover how innovation is shaping the way professionals grow, value, connect, and deliver. And today, I'm joined by Chris Loschiavo, realtor with Remax Heritage Professionals down in Central Florida. Chris brings a unique background, a career that began in higher education and evolved into real estate, where he's built a reputation for taking an educational, relationship-driven approach to his clients. We'll talk about his journey from academia to real estate and how that shaped his business philosophy, and how we'll touch on it, maybe how technology and AI are transforming the agent experience and what future innovations will define the next decade of real estate. So let's dive in. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do this. Let's jump right in. You've had a long career in education, higher education,
Yep.
and administration before moving into real estate, if I have that right.
Yep.
What sparked this shift, and then also how have you used your skills from academia, to transfer over into this newer career, sorry,
Yep.
as a realtor?
Sure. So, I had worked for 20 years in higher ed administration. I was essentially the person that students got referred to when they violated the rules. So, I worked in the dean of students' office. I dealt with cheating, plagiarism, fights, sexual assault, harassment, bullying, hazing, you name it, it came to my office. My background is I also have a law degree, and so educational institutions were transitioning from a legal process handling those types of violations to more educational. And I kind of brought both with me to that field. And I did that for 20 years. I was president of my national association, ASCA, it's called, and even had a chance to go speak to White House staff about how to handle sexual assault on a college campus. So kind of was at the top of the game for quite a while. And then I actually got scapegoated and lost my job in higher education after 20 years of sacrifice and being on call, handling suicides and emergencies and all that. And it caused me to kind of reflect on what I wanted to do moving forward. And I decided I wanted to do something where I was my own boss, where I wasn't dependent on someone else determining my fate, my future. And but I also wanted to do something where my love of teaching and education could be applied. And after some thought, really probably spent better part of almost a year thinking about what it was that I wanted to do. And I settled on real estate. Always had an interest in it, and also felt like I'm in Central Florida. People are buying and selling homes, whether it's for their primary residence or for a vacation home, because we're not too far from Disney. It just seemed like it was a good opportunity to combine education, law, and helping people. And so about 8 years ago now, almost 9, I got my real estate license, and I've been helping clients buy and sell homes in Central Florida ever since.
So how does education, law, and helping people, as you had said, what does that look like for your clients?
So I put a premium on education first and foremost. So when I meet with a client for the first time, whether they're potentially thinking of selling a home or they're looking at buying a home, I do a pretty deep dive, a consultation. I'm not salesy. I don't believe in scripts. I don't believe in trying to convince someone to sell or to buy. Rather, I give them information. I listen. And this is where my law and mediation background comes in handy. Listen to what their situation is. What are their goals? What are their dreams? What's their current financial situation? And then try to match my advice with where they're at. And so I have told people, listen, for you and your situation, it doesn't make sense for you to buy or sell right now. You're not going to get what you need out of the home, or you're not, it's going to put you in a bad situation financially. Here's a game plan for putting together, getting you to where you want to be, and in the meantime, let's stay in touch. Let's talk about what's happening in the market, and then go from there. The law degree comes in handy in terms of, I mean, I was trained how to read a contract, so
Yes.
doing real estate contracts, it was something that came very quickly to me in real estate. I never needed much help from my broker because I could understand the contract from day one, right? But it can be an edge in negotiation as well, because I really have a good insight into what, if this happens, then here's what's going to happen, what the impact is for this real estate transaction. And then the other piece is, I have a YouTube channel where I do a lot of educational content on buying and selling homes. And honestly, that's the way I want to pick up most of my clients, is that they see something that was helpful to them and they reach out to me and say, hey, this was really helpful. I'm thinking of buying or selling in Central Florida. Would you work with us? And so I believe in giving value. I believe in education, and then being an advisor consultant for my clients.
That's perfect. That sounds like that aligns with your background, your personality, your motivation. Approaching things from an educational or educating and perspective would be a great advantage to your clients. Especially if they're not familiar with the market, or even if they are, you're going to have a lot more insight than they are. Certainly, you're going to have the inside track on that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's interesting. How is the market in Central Florida for you, and where do you think this is going to go?
Yeah. It's slow. It's slower than I'd like it to be. Homes are sitting on the market quite a while. There's a lot of inventory right now, but I don't think it's a situation where there's so much inventory that home prices are going to drop a lot. We are seeing price reductions because of the amount of inventory right now, but I think there's actually a lot of pent up buyer demand. They're waiting on two things. They're waiting on mortgage rates to drop, which they've been slowly coming down a little bit,
Right. Uh-huh.
and they're waiting for some stability in the economy. I think it's not even necessarily the economy has to be great. It's that they need to know what's happening. And right now there's going to be tariffs next week, and then there's not going to be tariffs, and then there is again, and it's this up and down. The uncertainty is what's keeping buyers on the sidelines. And so I think if we can get some kind of stability with the economy and mortgage rates drop a little more, there's going to be a flood of buyers that come back to the market that's going to quickly evaporate what inventory surplus we do currently have. And then, it's going to be back to a kind of a crazy market, I think.
Yeah, I think people always want to be in Florida, so you'll always have that going for you, especially sometimes maybe the coastal cities with hurricanes or whatever happens to be going on. That may ebb and flow. They'll forget about the hurricane eventually, but in Central Florida, you just get good weather, right?
Right. And we get the people who, bought at the coast because everyone wants to be at the beach, and then they realize, oh, wait a minute, storm surge is not so good with hurricanes. We still want to be in Florida, but let's not deal with the storm surge, so let's go to Central Florida where we don't have that to worry about. And so we actually can see an increase during bad hurricane season. And this year, so far, knock on wood, has been quiet for us in Florida, but we can see an increase of buyers looking in the area from the coast, even, because they want to get away from where the insurance rates are higher and all of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That makes perfect sense to me. I've in my Zillow, I'm looking at, the coast, St. Pete and these sorts of things. And then I'm thinking, love to be there, but maybe it's just a vacation location instead of a, ownership with all the expenses and the risk and these sorts of things. And, maybe Central Florida is it. Although I'm in Denver. I love my Denver weather. If you like all your seasons, it's pretty nice up here. It's a nice, again, sunny fall day, out there. I'm pointing out the window.
Right.
So, I'm not pitching anybody come here necessarily, but come visit, of course. So, anyway, let's move on. I do want to get to, talking about a little bit of technology and that sort of thing. And What have you seen in your time in real estate, the changes in technology? What's helping you? I know there's some good platforms with Remax, that you can use to make yourself more efficient. How do you see that benefiting you on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis?
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing for me is using our CRM. We have Max Tech by Bold Trail, KV Core, it used to be called. And that's a do everything. Like, I have a website through that. I have customer relation management. I can text and email clients and all of that. Um, that's a huge help for running a business because it helps me stay on top of clients, making sure I don't miss something.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm one of the I guess the power users in the office of that software. So they use me sometimes to help train the other newer agents on
Nice.
the software. Just because I use it, and I'm not even. I know I'm not even maximizing my use of it. There's a lot more things that I can do with it that I just, haven't had the time to learn yet, because I'm also trying to learn all the social media platforms and how best to market on those, or to at least show up on those. Putting a premium on YouTube right now, really focusing on long form content there, but also trying to break that up into short videos. And then AI. Um, I initially, probably a year or so ago, started using it to help me with property descriptions and Facebook
Yeah.
ads and things
Yep.
like that. But I've had some training since then and kind of realized how much more it can do. Um, and really, where I'm excited about is how it can help me target or emphasize strengths in my business and target weaknesses in my business. And so by
Interesting.
asking, chat the right types of questions about, for example, what you know about me and my business, what do you identify as my strengths, weaknesses? What are some key SEO words I should be targeting?
Hmm.
What's my ideal client look like? And that kind of thing. It gives me some insight into my own business that otherwise, number one, I'd have to hire probably a coach, which is expensive to do. And then it even, if you ask the right follow up questions, can give you, okay, and here's what you need to do to improve X, Y, or Z. And I think the agents that learn how to really see AI as basically a virtual assistant, they're on your staff essentially. AI
Hmm.
is on
Right.
part of your staff, right?
Yeah.
Um, the ones that learn how to maximize that are going to really thrive in the next 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Along those lines, the next 5, 10 years, where do you see technology going in your space or overall? And then the kicker question with that is, AI is your assistant, your virtual assistant. Will it always be our virtual assistant, or do we have to watch out for AI in the future? Just want to plant that seed because I think that
Yeah,
people have interesting opinions on that.
yeah. I don't think AI can replace an agent because at the end of the day, number one, we're talking about, for most people, it is their biggest asset, right? It's
Right.
their most expensive asset, um, and there is a level of communication and personalization that I think is required for a really successful real estate transaction that AI just, I don't think, is ever going to be able to quite duplicate. But like I said, I think the agents that can utilize AI to better anticipate their clients' needs and respond to them are the ones
Right.
that are going to be the most successful. And so I think in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to be all about that. It's all about how do you adapt that. I mean, there's so many different types of agents out there right now. There's some that still aren't on social media, still don't use social media, which blows my mind,
I know.
right?
Right.
Because you know, uh, and I, honestly, the first brokerage I went to, they were teaching you how to door knock, and that was it. Door knock and cold call; those were the two things they were teaching. And I just sat there, and I actually almost left real estate. I was like, "Is that it? Like, is
Oh
that
no. Oh
is
no.
that what we do? Am I a door to door salesperson?" I just, it didn't resonate with me. And then I found my current broker, and he's much more about using social media and that kind of. He says, "Look, I don't want someone knocking on my door on a Sunday afternoon. I'm watching
Right.
soccer and they're bothering me. I have no interest in that." Um, and so um, I think learning how to meet clients where they're at, which is online,
Yep.
is those are the agents that are going to be successful, and that's where clients are going to find you. They're and you know, I think it's going to switch from Googling agents to find out who's the top agent in my area to asking chat who are the top agents in my area. And so, the agents that can figure out how to get AI to recommend them as an agent are the ones that are really going to be successful. And that's what I'm working on is figuring out, okay, how do I get chat or AI in general to recommend me as one of the top agents. And some of that's numbers, but some of that's reviews. Do you have those online, and what's your online presence look like? If you don't have an online presence, there's no way that AI is going to recommend you.
Right. You pretty much disappear. Eventually, you're
Right.
not even going to exist, as
Right.
far as, SEO goes. Or should it be GPTO instead of SEO is kind of
Right.
what I was just thinking of now
Right.
based on what you just said. And that's a very
Yeah.
fair point. What does the future look like, and how do we make sure we show up as relevant to what people are looking for, at that right time that they
Yep.
need services. And obviously we always want to work on our referrals and these sorts of things, but you got to bring people in the front, right,
Right.
to find enough people to work with. that
Yep.
is that is very interesting. So the other part of um, what about AI? And you can dodge this question if you want to, but I want to ask it anyway, if that's okay with you. Is that okay, Chris? Okay.
Yep.
So AI, will that be the savior? I'm going to do two extremes: the savior of humanity, or the detriment or demise of humanity. What are your thoughts on that crazy conspiracy version of it?
I think I'm still a little undecided on it. I think it could go either way. Um, you know, I, I grew up with Terminator, and so there's
Yes.
always, there's always that
Right.
future in the back of my mind. Like, what do we do to make sure that the machines don't take over? And at the same time, I guess I'm hopeful that you know we would be smart enough to figure out where there needs to be some limitations and probably some regulation to make sure
Yep.
we don't create the next Terminator.
Yes. Yeah.
Think about that when those movies came out. Everyone thinks that's so far away that would never happen, and now all of a sudden, you look in the last 2-3 years, and all of a sudden it's that might be a lot more realistic than we realized.
Yes. No, that is interesting. I get a lot of different answers to that type
Bet.
of question when I ask it. And it's not supposed to be loaded either way. It's just a point of
Yeah,
interest, right? To think about.
yeah.
And you're the first person so far that's brought up Terminator, and that's the first
Okay.
thought I had in talking. When you see something bizarre going on, or you see
Yeah.
the militarized robot and thinking of it thinking on its own, you go, Terminator.
Yep.
That's just going to be a problem for us if we're not
Yep.
if we're not careful. And we laugh
If
about it now.
we're in
Hopefully, we can
trouble,
laugh about it forever.
yeah, we're in trouble when the machines think they're smarter than we are. Then I think
Yes.
we're in trouble.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And I personally don't think it's going to replace us anytime soon. But yeah, we
No.
should watch out. Who the heck knows
Yep.
what's going to happen
Yeah.
in the future? Chris, if you were to give advice to a new broker starting out right now, or even a new business person, because this is your business that you run. I mean,
Right.
it's different than working in administration, these sorts of
Yep.
things. What advice would you give that person just getting started?
I think my first piece of advice would be figure out the one thing I didn't know when I got into it is how much of it is getting clients, right? Like if you watch TV about real estate, it's all about, you've got your client already and you show them 3 houses, they pick one and
Right.
you've got a closing, right? And of
Yep.
course, that's not how it works.
Right.
Um, and honestly, the hardest part of the business is giving people, finding people who want to choose to work with you. That's the hardest part of the business. And if you don't generate leads, if you're not lead generating every day, then you're probably not going to last.
Mm-hmm.
And so my advice is, and again, this goes back to early in my career where it was all door knocking and cold calling, which I don't like to do and I don't like done to me. So if that were it, I wouldn't still be here. And I've helped over 200 people buy and sell homes in Central Florida. So, you know, you have
Yes.
to figure out what do you enjoy doing from a lead generation standpoint, whether it's social media, whether it's videos, whether it's posts, whether it's outside of social media, open houses. Some people really love open houses. Is it doing events and meeting people at events where you table? And you got to figure out several different things that you enjoy doing so that you'll do it. Because if you pick things that you're not going to enjoy doing, like cold calling or door knocking, you're not going to do it, and so you're not going to be successful at it. Um, and I think if you're there's some people who absolutely enjoy that. Like they love cold calling, they love door knocking. Great, you go do that,
Right.
but make sure it's something you're good at and you're going to enjoy. Do it so that you will do it consistently. Because whatever you decide to do, you've got to do it consistently. You can't do it for 1 or 2 months and say, you know what, I'm not getting what I need out of it. I need to stop and do something else. Because if you keep doing that, had you done it one more month, you might have gotten the breakthrough you were looking for, right? So you've got to pick something you enjoy doing, use that, and stick with it consistently. Continuous, be persistent about it.
Hmm.
You can tweak it here and there, but if you throw it out, you probably threw it out just a little too soon before you were going to have success with it.
Yes. No, that sounds like really good advice. Let's shift gears one more time here, Chris. Tell
Yep.
us something about yourself or tell us what you like to do for fun when you're not knocking on doors.
Right. So I have 2 kids, and they're soccer players.
Oh, yes.
My daughter is 10, and she plays travel soccer. So she plays a little goalie, and she plays some midfield. So out at the soccer fields with her. My son actually has been playing soccer since he was 4. He's now almost 17. He plays travel soccer. He also plays on his high school team. So every
Wow.
weekend, my wife and I are juggling which soccer field we're going to with who. And then during the high school season, he's got practices or games almost every night of the week. So I'm out at the soccer fields a lot. I enjoy watching it. I played soccer when I was young. It wasn't nearly as popular then. But, so I'm out there a lot. I'm also on the board of directors of our local soccer club as well. So
Very
I,
nice.
I
Very nice.
volunteer my time with the soccer club. And it's just, I think actually more important now than ever is getting kids involved in youth sports, because otherwise they're on social media and on video playing video games, and that's all they do, and they don't get out. And um, I've seen with my kids, they learn how to work with others, they learn teamwork, they learn leadership,
Yes.
they learn resilience. That's a big thing. Is
Yes.
so many people aren't resilient. Something bad happens and it just destroys them. Well, you know what? When you're playing soccer, you're not always going to be successful. Sometimes someone's going to beat you. Sometimes you're going to lose. So that that's where I enjoy spending time out there, even though it takes most of my weekends. And my clients know, they can call me if I'm at the soccer field. I'll probably text them back and say, "Hey, I'll get back to you when we're done," but because I can't hear when we're on at the games,
Right.
and they all appreciate that. And so, yeah, that's where I'm spending a lot of my time. Otherwise, watching sports, and I enjoy cooking. Um, my family's Italian, and so I have some old family recipes that we make and have been passed down, and so those are kind of what I do when I'm not doing real estate.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Thank you for that insight. You know, you have a lot of dimensions to what you do, and that's great that you shared it with us today.
Sure.
So, Chris, thank you for sharing your story again and your perspective. Truly appreciate you sharing your experience. From your education, your pivot you've made, and then sharing with the audience. Hey, if you're going to jump into real estate, for example, these things you need to expect. I certainly appreciated you talked about that. Find ways you're willing to prospect, because if you don't, you're not going to do it, and you're not going to be successful. So
Yep.
figure that out. That was a great sound bite or paragraph or whatever it is from there. So I definitely appreciate that. So any final words, or are we going to sign off here?
I guess we can sign off now. It's been great talking with you, and I love helping new agents too. Now that I'm not the inexperienced agent anymore, I love helping them figuring out how to how to be successful for themselves. And I think there's plenty of business to go around for everybody, and so I don't see it as competition, so to speak, which a lot of
Oh, very
maybe.
good. Very good. Good collaboration then. Yes.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, thanks everyone for joining us on this episode of Technologies Now, the business edge, a broker's perspective, and we will catch you next time.